Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So, it has been brought to my attention that the JoJo siwa situation is continuing, and Tana Mongeau is actually, when Tana Mongeau has to make a statement like against you, that's when things aren't the greatest. So Tana Mongeau had said a while ago that she had JoJo siwa come on the Cancel podcast, you know, her podcast with Brooke, and she had filmed it and it hadn't came out, and it just came out a day ago. And when I tell you the backlash that Tana Mongeau is getting because of this podcast is insane. And I've been seeing everyone on Twitter talk about it. I've been seeing everyone on the YouTube comments talk about it, and a lot of people were asking me what my opinion is. So we're going to dive into it. Before we get into that, I am vlogging literally just an hour ago. Look at that. Fact check. I'm vlogging every day over on my second channel. If you want to click the link down below and come subscribe, I would appreciate it. Chat were reminding me to do that, so shout out to all of you. So yeah, there's two things that are happening with the JoJo podcast. It is being received very terribly for two reasons. Number one, 3.9 thousand dislikes, and most of the comments are about that people are not liking JoJo. Now, the first reason, obvious, is the Howie Mandel thing. Can't really top that. But number two is, I sat through like 30 minutes of this and I had to give it up. Tana's podcast co-host, Brooke, basically got ignored the entire time by JoJo. And JoJo, came across very out of touch. Most of the conversations were just about JoJo's wealth and stuff like that. But the way she came across was very entitled, that she only kind of wanted to speak to Tana, who was also famous, whereas Brooke is, someone who's like an up and coming, I think arrogant is the right word. Hey, she called me a fake victim, so I can call her arrogant. Yeah, and very entitled. And so there's two big conversations that are happening from this. The first one, obviously, is that people are very pissed off that JoJo treated Brooke very wrongly. And in a very rude way. And the second one is that people are saying that, well, Tana, you had Trisha on your podcast, a couple days ago, in which you said to Trisha that, Colleen is, was saying the C word, and, there's no one as worse than Colleen. Tana did, a Steamies award and gave Colleen the award for, the worst person or something. Tana has been very outspoken against Colleen, so people were very confused as to why Tana would have Trisha on and then immediately after have JoJo, who basically said that everyone, including Trisha, basically was lying about things happening to Colleen. So it was not a good look for Tana, and I didn't think Tana was going to address it, because Tana Mongeau, love her or hate her, she has a way of just, under the rug, which whatever, she will do what she'll do, what Tana does. But what's really interesting is Tana immediately, within a few hours, released a statement and said, we had her on before she went on Howie's podcast and defended Colleen. I did not know about any of this until today. Oops. We'll unpack in the next episode. And pinned it. Do you know how bad it is for someone to post their podcast interview with you and within an hour or so do a pinned comment being like, hey, I know y'all hate this person. I'll say I hate them in the next one too. Really bad, right? All caps, no, it's for real. We're going to get to the comments on this in a second. We're also going to play a little clip on her being very dismissive towards Brooke, and there's a lot, right? But I see that a couple people in the chat were asking, what is this in relation to? If you're not aware, like we talked about, JoJo siwa went on the Howie Mandel podcast, and basically, and this clip from it has 5.8 thousand dislikes to 500 likes. The comments are filled with people saying, JoJo's also been friends with Colleen since she was a child. JoJo doesn't realize what she's talking about. That basically JoJo's a bad influence. All these comments on the Howie Mandel podcast are flooded with people saying that JoJo is a bad influence and all the rest, right? So for people that need a little bit of clarification, before we jump into this, I'm going to play this on 1.5 speed. We're not going to stop. If I need to make a comment, I'm going to mute it and talk over it. This is going to be a quick 4-minute watch if we're doing it on 1.5 to remind you, because we've been away from this for a little bit, been away from streams for a little bit. Then we're going to jump into the new thing. Read the comments on Tana's podcast. Tana's it's messy. So anyway, this was the thing we're all talking about. And then we're going to watch her being very dismissive towards Brooke, the comments on Tana's podcast. For Tana Mongeau to have to come out against you and kind of denounce you in a way. And JoJo Siwa, oi! Now keep in mind, JoJo Siwa is also the one that promotes Shane Dawson and James Charles for no fucking reason. Hi, Chloe. All right, let's see it.
Colleen Ballinger still?
Yeah, what
do you say about that?
I've known Colleen since I was 12.
So for those that don't know, Colleen is in the middle of a kind of a...
It's tough.
Colleen, what was the name of the character?
Miranda Sings.
Miranda Sings. My other daughter went to all the concerts and everything, and she's getting accused of things.
Yes.
Which we don't have to talk about that she's accused of, but I would imagine if you're friends with her, you kind of met her when you were young.
I was 12 when I met her.
And
Tana is also wishy-washy with James too.
Family, nothing but kind to me. I think it's really...
Hi, Andy.
About this, so I just want to make sure I say my exact piece that I want to say.
My exact piece.
The internet can take a lie and run so far with it, so far, that it's to the point where you just can't do anything about it. And I've had that happen to me. And I know Colleen very, very, very well.
Since you were 12, right, babe?
I think the work that Colleen has done for the internet is incredible.
Sorry, I said I wasn't going to stop, but what work has Colleen Ballinger done for the internet that wasn't ran past a 12-year-old first? Boom-ts.
I think her creativity is incredible. Miranda Sings.
The 12-year-old's creativity.
Is a character, is a comedian, and I think that it's
generous.
very hard to be a character where people are also looking at you as you're a real human behind that character. And
I don't know what that even means.
It's very hard because you were able to do things years ago.
The Irish interns be working hard.
Were okay, and now that we've grown and we've matured, we realize that they're not okay. You know what I mean?
But you, as somebody who's been in the public eye for a long time,
Yes.
do you think that it is appropriate to communicate openly with everybody that reaches out to you?
No, I don't think that communicating with fans is. You got to be careful to not.
And that's what I'm saying.
To not blur a friend-fan line. It's very tough.
And here's my question to you. Regardless of judging whatever specifically is being said that was happening, and I'm just saying this as a parent again. You said you started communicating with her when you were 12.
Yes.
You want to
But
be
you guys were in the same industry.
So we were in the
like,
same-
You guys were making videos and stuff together.
So
right?
we actually met because on Dance Moms, you know Tadra Hall?
Yes.
Yeah. So on Dance Moms, Tadra Hall had a party and invited the Dance Moms cast.
Him trying to hint at her is fun. Yeah, that is a good comment. He's like giving her a way out. He's like, he's like, come on. Come on. And she's still doubling down on it. Okay, we'll play another minute of this where she goes on to say that Colleen wanted to befriend the kids, and then we're going to go back to the Tana.
And four of the girls went, and they discluded myself and Nia, who was another girl on the show. And we all knew Todrick, so we were fine with that. But then Colleen, as Miranda, surprised the girls. And me and Nia were devastated because we were massive fans, and we loved Colleen and we loved Miranda. And then
So what you're saying is you had a fan dynamic that she then befriended when you were a child.
She reached out to Holly and was like, I would love to make this up to you guys. She was like, I was wondering where JoJo and Nia were. I had no idea that this was the case. Please, whatever you guys want. I just want to make the kids happy. I just want JoJo and Nia.
Colleen Ballinger wanted to make kids happy? Wouldn't be her own.
To not be sad anymore. And so we ended up going to dinner with Colleen, and it was me and my mom and Nia and Holly. And Colleen was telling me that night about YouTube and how her whole family did it and how it was awesome. And
all right, you get the point. So now back to this bitch that had a lot to say about me in the press, Miley, what's good? Anyone know that reference? So I want to give you a little taster about how the interview went. Here's Brooke, here's Tana, and JoJo the entire time. Tana, Brooke, Tana, Brooke, and the audience are not happy because the reason the cancel podcast works is because people like Tana and Brooke equally and their dynamics. So if you shut one of them out, you're on their podcast. So just to give you a little taser, I'm not gonna taser you. A little a little teaser. That was crazy. A little teaser.
My tour was wild. We did
Just look how Brooke just has to smile and nod, y'all.
134 shows.
And
I got
doing
a
arenas.
tattoo devoted to it.
You did stadiums, arenas.
I did arenas, yeah. The O2 Arena in London.
Brooke is just sitting there the entire time because she was so excluded by JoJo this entire podcast.
Yes.
I became the youngest person to ever.
So awkward. And see, when you watch the entire thing as well, and again, I only lasted like 30 minutes, and that was not. It's really, really. I feel so bad for her. You know what it's like to be involved in a conversation where you're excluded, and it's on your own podcast. Oh.
In London.
Look at my goosebumps. You can see them from here. That is so insane.
It's crazy.
That is, God, oh my God.
That's like, for anybody who wouldn't know the O2, that's like comparable to Madison Square Garden here, or the Staples Center.
So insane.
Like the big arena there.
I can't. What's that feeling when you walk out to the O2 Arena and it's sold out and you're how old?
I was 16.
Holy fuck.
I was a baby.
And you're just so normal now. I would have been off my rocker.
Oh my God.
Like, it would have been over for
See how JoJo then goes to talk to Tana?
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, the feeling on stage.
Oh, and now we're back to talking to Tana. Brooke was like, that must be a crazy feeling, and JoJo goes, so...
never gets old, and every crowd is different. It's wild, and there's similarities, but every crowd is different. Every crowd is unique.
Me agreeing like I'm a...
So I feel really bad for Brooke because it's Brooke's podcast, and I mean, Brooke was literally ignored this entire thing. And by the way, one of my friends who is a big Tana Mongeau fan, she is a huge Tana Mongeau fan. When we were out last night, she was talking about this podcast, and she was like, have you watched it yet? And I was like, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it today, which I did, and I only lasted like 30 minutes, right? She was like, oh, JoJo sat the entire time and just talked about like wealth, money. She would talk about not being privileged, but then would say something really privileged, or like had a hard upbringing, but then would say about like something completely contradictory to that. And I was like, I don't know how, you know, my friend is being supportive of me and they know the full JoJo thing, so maybe my friend was exaggerating. I had to turn it off on the basis of I just couldn't listen to it anymore. I couldn't listen to it anymore. And I think that people are starting to see that JoJo is aligning herself so much, and having a responsibility of a child audience, by the way, of not wanting to do... What word am I looking for here? JoJo's gonna do JoJo, but not in a good way. You know, do everything to like poke the bear. Whether that is promoting, self-confessed predators whenever the parents are begging you to stop. Or defending. And it's like, it just seems that JoJo is doing everything in her power to seek as much attention as possible. But there's other people in the world who've done that. Tana Mongeau. But with JoJo, it feels very... this is a great example. Going on someone's podcast and basically being so cold to them the entire time. So anyway, this is not just me. Look at the so much so, by the way, that Tana literally had to release a statement. Let's read the comments a little bit on this. I always feel so bad for Brooke when they have a guest on and they never even glance at her unless she's asking a question. I lost every ounce of respect I had for JoJo when she defended Colleen. This is, you guys don't realize this. This is on the cancelled podcast comment section. This entire podcast is centered around like being a little bit tongue-in-cheek problematic. So you have those people calling you out. All right. We were in the middle class, says JoJo, and then my brother went to private school. Goes to show how she has no clue about poverty versus wealth. So a lot of people are bothered as well, just the way she was talking. Well, this is why it's called the Cancel Podcast. My dad was a chiropractor. My mom owned a dance studio. My brother went to private school and I was homeschooled. Ah, yes, JoJo, the average middle class life. So basically she did talk about this, like how her upbringing is exactly like everyone watching and blah, 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 which, and it, again, it's just something that you don't want to play around with that kind of terminology whenever it's not true. Because it's a slap in the face to people who actually are like that and go, oh, well, why don't I sell out the O2 Arena? Why don't I have, millions of cars? It's not a form of, it is privilege. And it bothers me. It really bothers me when anyone does it, but JoJo's a sore topic right now, so. All right. It's pissing me off that JoJo doesn't even bother to look at Brooke at all. Someone said, this episode is honestly such a tough watch. You can tell how uncomfortable Brooke is by basically being ignored the entire episode, and I feel bad for her. It's the worst feeling to be pushed to the background of your own show or space. Aside from the obvious reasons JoJo shouldn't have been on this show, it sounds almost identical to the other podcasts she's been on in the last few weeks. Same topics, same, oh, I'm an adult now conversations. And I get that she's on to tell her story, but converse normally for a minute. It just feels like she's on so much of a PR run trying to gain a new audience, which is why she's doing all these collabs with like Shane and James as well. It feels so much like she's on a PR run to gain a new audience, but I feel it may backfire on her more than anything. So someone said, I understand this was before JoJo went on Howie's podcast, but my heart absolutely breaks for Trisha. She's already had so many people stab her in the back, and this feels like it's adding to it, especially after how amazing both podcasts were. So that's talking about Trisha going on Tana's podcast, Tana going on Trisha. And Tana basically said, I'm not going to do anything that, will ever be against you. Like, I'm rooting for you. You're my sister. So a lot of people were saying, oh, Trisha, is going to be pissed off at the fact that Tana literally immediately after her has JoJo on, who Trisha has made several videos on, or several statements at least, in the past week or so about how upset she is about statements that JoJo has made. And it's like, that is a little bit of a backstab. However, Tana did film this episode before that. So, if this came out before, then it's a difference in conversation. But the timing of it just makes it look really bad for Tana, which is why she's already released the statement. Like, when is Tana Mongeau one to release a statement like that? Never. When does Tana Mongeau ever do a statement like that? Never. N-O, that's actually not how you spell never. N-E-V-E-R. Never. It had to be filmed a while ago, but what an awkward time for this to come out. I'm rooting for JoJo to learn and grow because she is still so young. This is why Trisha said she doesn't have any friends. You just proved her point very quickly about not trusting friends, because then Tana would do this. Again, this was filmed before, but the timing is, the comments are, it's unfortunate how she defended Colleen. Brooke looks so out of it, staring into space and sad. We need justice for Brooke in this episode. Listen, it's just... I don't know what this strategy, JoJo and her, not Nover. Did I spell it wrong? No, I didn't, did I? Shh, don't make fun of me. So, I just think I don't understand what JoJo or her parents or her guardians or her PR or anything are doing. Is it like trying to get the most amount of attention by provoking as many people as possible? I don't know. Do I think Tana had bad intentions with this? Absolutely not. Do I think Brooke did? Well, she didn't have a fucking chance to say anything anyway. I don't think Tana had bad intentions. This was something that was filmed before JoJo decided to do the Howie Mandel thing. Timing, sponsorships. As a creator, sometimes you don't have control of that. I don't think Tana's in the wrong here. And actually, Tana released a statement very quickly. And sometimes when you film a podcast, if you've spent that amount of money, you have to post it. Even Trisha, who people are saying is going to be offended, would agree with that. Now, it'll be interesting to hear what Tana says in her next podcast, because Tana said, we're going to address this in the next podcast. So, who's at fault here? JoJo. For the sake of JoJo and me being the same age as her, I hope she's able to realize the impact she has, specifically actually catering towards children and the responsibility that comes with that. But furthermore, I hope she realizes that the adults in her life have been taking advantage of her for a very long time. And the only reason I'm less sympathetic towards her, which is an awful statement to say, and I'm aware of that, is because she's getting so much backlash for promoting people like Shane, James, Colleen, and she's going out of her way to promote them in spite of that to get more attention. And it's like at a certain stage, it's like you're trying to provoke. But I really wish for a turnaround for her and for her to see what's going on. But when people baby her, like, I'm going to be honest. Sorry, but I'm not saying they should, but no one's babying me, or no one's babying Becky, or no one's babying Oliver. Like, why are y'all babying JoJo Siwa? But you're not babying the people here speaking about their story. Like, there's more people that are babying JoJo, being like, oh, mama, but she's so young and stuff. But then those same people are coming at us being like, how dare you speak up? And this is not your story to tell. Like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so now people that are the same age, you don't hold the same standard to. So you're just changing the rules for JoJo a bit. I hope she can see the light. But I think as long as she's making the people around her so much money, I don't think they're willing to confront her about it. But I'm very intrigued to see what Tana says. And also justice for Brooke.